What began as a typical hip-hop feud has now escalated into a full-blown family war, and this time, it's no longer confined to Instagram comment sections or viral memes. What we're witnessing now is something bigger, far more intense, and far more personal. 50 Cent and T have had a long-running tension for years, a back-and-forth that fans have followed closely. But recently, the dynamics changed entirely. Family members, old grudges, and a new set of threats have dragged the feud into a territory few expected. And in the center of it all is King Harris, a name that has been pulled into this firestorm in a way that has made everyone take notice. For years, 50 Cent and T's interactions were seen as high-profile but ultimately manageable rap beef. Diss tracks came and went. Slick social media posts ignited commentary and memes spread across fan bases. But this is no longer just about witty jabs or clout chasing. It's about pride, legacy, family loyalty, and the kind of public humiliation that can create deep, lasting consequences. This is the kind of tension that doesn't stay contained. It leaks, it spreads, and it forces everyone involved to confront the stakes in real time. T has consistently framed his actions as defensive, protective of his family and his legacy. Every move is calculated to preserve his status as a rap icon and a father. 50 Cent, on the other hand, operates with a different playbook. He doesn't always need bars to make an impact. Sometimes one social media post, a single image, or a carefully timed tweet is enough to shift the narrative entirely. That difference in style, the calculated lyrical approach versus the disruptive, social media-driven strategy, is what makes this clash so dangerous. When T wants to settle things in the studio, 50 Cent prefers to attack through perception, letting the public become an active participant in the drama. This feud, at least in its most recent iteration, can be traced back to the Versus conversation, a moment that was supposed to celebrate legacy, music catalogs, and hip-hop influence. But what might have been a positive, celebratory event quickly became a flashpoint. T, approaching the discussion with the expectation of genuine dialogue, perceived a disconnect between private agreements and public statements. To him, it felt like a breach of trust, a subtle form of disrespect that reignited old tensions. For someone whose image is built on pride, stature, and integrity, such an affront cannot be ignored. But the real turning point came when family became involved. What was once a two-person conflict suddenly expanded to include Tiny, T's wife, and the Harris name itself. Sons entered the conversation. The personal stakes multiplied. Public feuds rarely stay in the realm of entertainment when loved ones are drawn into the crossfire. When a wife is mocked, when children react, or when family loyalty is questioned, the nature of the conflict changes entirely. What was a rap battle now has emotional, psychological, and social consequences that extend far beyond the music industry. Enter King Harris, the son of T and Tiny, a figure whose life has been under public scrutiny from a young age. Growing up in front of cameras, the world witnessed his early charisma, his energy, and his fearless personality. Reality television, public appearances, and social media moments shaped him, turning him into someone who could command attention simply by being himself. But growing up in the spotlight is a double-edged sword. Public scrutiny doesn't allow room for mistakes. Every action is analyzed, compared, and interpreted against the backdrop of his father's legacy. As King matured, that boldness that once made him endearing began to manifest as something sharper, more assertive, and sometimes even confrontational. Social media clips of his arguments, Instagram live spats, and viral moments that once seemed playful now carried weight. The pressure of living in a celebrity household, combined with the need to prove himself independent of privilege, created a persona that demanded attention. Every public moment became an opportunity to assert identity, loyalty, and strength. It was inevitable that when the family feud reignited, King Harris would be pulled into the center, not as a peripheral observer, but as a critical participant whose reactions could influence perception, fan sentiment, and ultimately, the trajectory of the conflict. The escalation was subtle at first. A post here, a comment there, a social media hint that something bigger was brewing. But what made this particular feud explosive was the collision of personal and professional spheres. Unlike previous rap beefs, which often stay contained within songs or interviews, this conflict has real-world ramifications. It involves public perception, media coverage, fan speculation, and now, deeply personal consequences for family members. T's family is being tested. 50 Cent's strategic maneuvering is being scrutinized, and King Harris is facing pressures most young adults could never imagine. 50 Cent's approach is methodical and relentless. His strategy does not rely solely on lyrical ability. It's about timing, perception, and amplification. When he targets someone, he turns the feud into a public spectacle. His tactics include selective disclosure, creating tension through silence, and using the court of public opinion to apply pressure. T, meanwhile, operates on principles of legacy and respect, preferring to defend his name directly and privately when possible. That clash of philosophies, disruption versus structured defense, has turned what might have been a manageable conflict into a high-stakes, multi-layered war that captivates the public. The history between 50 Cent and T is long and complicated. There have been indirect shots, sly remarks, and years of speculation over whether the two men respect each other genuinely or are simply maintaining civility to avoid a full-blown confrontation. The Versus moment reactivated unresolved energy, giving their simmering tension a fresh reason to boil over. But what made this feud particularly volatile is the inclusion of family. Suddenly, the stakes were no longer abstract concepts of reputation and status. They were tangible, affecting the people T loves most. Tiny, T's wife, is now more than just a background figure. She is a central node in the narrative. Public jabs or insinuations directed at her are interpreted as attacks on T himself. Similarly, King Harris, as a young man in the public eye, carries both the weight of his own identity and the symbolic weight of his family name. Every social media reaction, every public appearance, every viral clip of King in confrontational or defiant behavior contributes to the evolving narrative. Fans and critics alike dissect his actions, weighing them against legacy, family loyalty, and authenticity. King Harris's evolution into this role is not accidental. His public upbringing instilled a boldness and confidence that can quickly be interpreted as audacity or defiance. The contrast between his independence and the legacy of his father creates a narrative tension that is irresistible to the public. His behavior, whether defensive, reactive, or assertive, has implications far beyond himself. It's seen as an extension of family honor, a test of loyalty, and a statement of personal identity. The stakes are magnified because he is simultaneously a celebrity in his own right and a representative of one of hip-hop's most prominent families. The broader lesson here is how modern celebrity, social media, and family legacy intersect. Feuds are no longer contained by traditional media. They unfold in real time, amplified by platforms where every action can go viral, where every gesture carries meaning, and where audiences actively participate in shaping the narrative. King Harris exemplifies this dynamic. He is a young adult navigating the pressures of legacy while simultaneously forging a public identity. His actions feed into a larger story of influence, loyalty, and the negotiation of personal and familial stakes under intense scrutiny. At this point, the stakes are higher than ever. What started as entertainment, a rap feud with clever lines and public jabs, has evolved into a multi-dimensional narrative. It's a story about power, perception, and personal consequence. The introduction of family has escalated the conflict into a territory where actions cannot be easily reversed. Every decision, every post, every response now carries the potential to have far-reaching effects. The public is not just watching. They are invested, analyzing, and predicting the next move in a narrative that feels both intimate and highly strategic. Ultimately, this feud illustrates the complexity of modern celebrity conflicts. It is no longer enough to defend oneself through talent or charisma alone. Every move is amplified, every reaction is measured, and the presence of family members transforms even minor disputes into events with lasting consequence. King Harris is emblematic of this shift, a young figure navigating legacy, public perception, and personal identity in a conflict that spans generations, digital platforms, and social spheres. In conclusion, what began as a feud between two rap icons has evolved into a complex, multi-layered family war. 50 Cent's calculated disruption, T's defensive pride, and King Harris's emerging assertiveness have combined to create a drama that is larger than music alone. The stakes are personal, emotional, and public. Family is no longer just a backdrop, it is at the heart of the conflict. Every social media post, every viral clip, and every strategic silence contributes to a narrative that is unfolding in real time. This is not just rap drama, it's a study in legacy, influence, perception, and the pressures of growing up in the public eye. For King Harris, every action is a statement, every reaction carries weight, and every public moment is both a reflection of family and an assertion of self. For 50 Cent and T, the challenge is to navigate a complex web of history, strategy, and emotional stakes, where legacy, reputation, and family loyalty collide. And for the public, this is a story that continues to captivate, provoke debate, and generate endless fascination. Because in the world of modern celebrity, the line between personal and public is blurred, and the consequences of crossing that line are amplified in ways that few could have anticipated. At the same time, T was fighting on multiple fronts. He was defending his own reputation, protecting his wife, managing public perception, responding to trolls, addressing old controversies, and simultaneously watching his son navigate a situation that was rapidly spinning out of control. This created layers of tension rarely seen in celebrity conflicts. The pressure was not just professional or public, it was intensely personal. Every exchange, every post, every viral clip carried emotional weight far beyond ordinary social media drama. And then there's 50 Cent. He is not just another rapper participating in a back and forth. He has built a reputation for turning conflict into content and content into pressure. He understands the power of narrative, the effect of timing, and the influence of the public. When he hints that a feud could move beyond music and memes into something bigger, it changes the dynamic entirely. It forces everyone involved to consider consequences beyond the immediate, beyond the music, and into the personal, public, and familial realms. The combination of King Harris's presence and 50 Cent's strategy creates a combustible scenario. King is no longer merely a young man asserting himself. He becomes a symbol of how quickly celebrity family tension can spiral when ego, history, loyalty, and public scrutiny intersect. The stakes are heightened because the conflict is no longer just professional. It is intensely personal, emotional, and generational. It involves legacy, reputation, and the potential for public humiliation that affects more than just the individuals directly involved. Fans, observers, and the media cannot look away because the story is compelling on multiple levels. What started as a professional disagreement escalated into personal resentment, which then transformed into family tension. A son already surrounded by controversy is pulled directly into the conflict, and the consequences extend far beyond diss tracks or viral posts. The deeper you look, the more apparent it becomes that this feud was never going to remain small. Pride, history, and family loyalty are forces that, when unleashed publicly, rarely dissipate quietly. Something inevitably breaks. The question is what and who breaks first. The true turning point in this saga came not with a viral meme or a heated tweet, but when the next generation was drawn directly into the conflict. King Harris, already a public figure due to reality television and social media exposure, became a central actor in a feud that threatened to consume not just reputation but family relationships. For years, audiences watched him grow up on camera, seeing glimpses of charisma, humor, and potential. But as the feud reignited, King's public image shifted. The funny, fearless kid was replaced by a young man embroiled in viral confrontations, heated live streams, and moments that seemed to teeter on the edge of public scandal. His reaction was immediate, assertive, and highly visible. He defended his family in ways that escalated the situation, shocking even those familiar with the brutal dynamics of celebrity feuds. It was not simply about defending a parent. It was about asserting his identity, demonstrating loyalty, and signaling that disrespect toward family would not be tolerated. The way he engaged made headlines, drew public scrutiny, and ensured that the feud was no longer contained to two men in conflict. It had become a multi-generational, family-centered confrontation with high stakes and wide-reaching consequences. King's public defiance exemplifies the challenges of growing up in a high-profile household. Every action is analyzed, every word scrutinized, and every decision interpreted through the lens of family legacy. The pressure to perform, protect, and assert oneself publicly adds layers of complexity to a young person's life that most audiences may never fully appreciate. King Harris is navigating a dual reality. He is a young adult seeking independence and identity, while simultaneously representing a family with one of hip-hop's most visible and scrutinized legacies. The current feud illustrates how celebrity, family, and social media interact in unpredictable ways. What might have been a professional rivalry escalates into personal consequences because every action has amplified visibility. King's involvement transforms the narrative from a battle of egos into a high-stakes, generational conflict. Every post, every live stream, and every public comment has implications for reputation, relationships, and legacy. The story is compelling because it is not just about entertainment. It is about how individuals navigate pressure, identity, and loyalty in a world where visibility and influence are constant. The feud had already escalated to a level few could have anticipated, but everything changed the moment King Harris posted messages that directly referenced deeply personal aspects of 50 Cent's past, including the painful history surrounding his late mother. That single action, in a matter of moments, altered the landscape of the entire conflict. What had been a war of words and subtle provocations suddenly became raw, personal, and impossible to ignore. Within minutes, screenshots of King's posts were circulating across every major social platform. Social media users were stunned. Some questioned how someone so young could publicly target such sensitive family history. Others defended him, arguing that once someone insults your mother, the usual rules of engagement no longer apply. Regardless of opinion, there was universal agreement on one thing: the line had officially been crossed. The feud had shifted from a battle of egos to something more intimate, more dangerous, and more volatile. King didn't stop at social media. In a move that surprised many, he integrated the conflict into his music. A new track appeared online, and the accompanying visuals only intensified the controversy. Suddenly, the feud was no longer just a matter of words. It had become multimedia content, layered with visuals, statements, and reactions that compounded with every passing hour. Fans and critics alike debated whether King had gone too far, with some arguing that he had transformed a rap rivalry into something unnecessarily ugly. Others insisted he was merely defending his family, taking a stand in a way that a devoted son might, given the circumstances. But the reaction that carried the most weight came from someone much closer to him, his father, T. For decades, T had navigated the treacherous waters of rap conflicts, understanding the subtle line between defending one's name and letting disputes spiral out of control. Even he seemed uncomfortable with how far this had escalated. In interviews following the incident, he made it clear that while loyalty and family defense were important, certain lines should never be crossed. Bringing a deceased parent into an argument, he explained, was unnecessary and harmful. By the time T publicly expressed concern, the moment had already gone viral. Screenshots and video clips were everywhere. The narrative had shifted again. What had begun as a rivalry between two rap legends had evolved into a generational confrontation. Fans were no longer just watching T and 50 Cent. They were witnessing fathers and sons, legacies and reputations, decades of unresolved tension, all colliding in real time. Complicating matters further, King Harris was not dealing solely with the public feud. He was also navigating real-life consequences, the kind of tangible challenges that had the potential to impact him far beyond social media. Even before this conflict reignited, his name had appeared in headlines connected to various incidents and legal issues. Videos of confrontations had circulated online, and reports of traffic violations and court appearances had surfaced. Critics began to paint a narrative that the young artist was drifting dangerously close to the same kind of trouble his father had faced decades earlier. The early signs had seemed minor to some observers. Viral arguments at restaurants, heated exchanges during live streams, and even public disagreements with his parents were often dismissed as typical youthful misbehavior. Yet, these incidents were patterns forming in real time, small red flags signaling that King Harris's trajectory might be more complicated than mere celebrity antics. In 2022, these concerns intensified when King became involved in a widely discussed legal situation linked to driving violations, including speeding and operating a vehicle with a suspended license. The case later became more serious when he failed to appear in court, resulting in a bench warrant. At the time, many assumed the situation would quietly resolve itself, but the story never disappeared. It lingered in the public eye, an unresolved narrative waiting to intersect with other developments. Everything resurfaced dramatically in October 2024. During a traffic stop in Georgia, police reported that King Harris nearly collided with a patrol vehicle while exiting a gas station. Officers claimed they detected the smell of marijuana inside the car and also discovered a firearm on King's hip. Upon checking his identification, authorities realized that an active warrant from the earlier driving incident remained unresolved. The arrest that followed was swift. Bodycam footage later circulated, showing King cooperating with officers, remaining calm and following instructions as the firearm was removed and he was placed in handcuffs. Despite King's composure, the internet focused on the most sensational aspects of the event. The arrest quickly became another viral moment attached to his name. Comment sections erupted. Critics framed the arrest as confirmation of a troubling pattern they had warned about for years. Supporters argued that he was being judged unfairly simply because of his father's fame, suggesting that any young person could make mistakes without being scrutinized in the public eye to this degree. Just as that situation seemed to settle, another significant life event entered the narrative. King Harris became a father himself. His son was born in November 2024, mere weeks after the arrest incident. Around the same time, King released a song dedicated to his newborn, offering a glimpse of a more reflective, introspective side. For some fans, this marked a potential turning point. Perhaps fatherhood would instill responsibility, provide grounding, and slow the pace of chaos that had defined much of his public life. But reality is rarely that straightforward. King Harris now had to navigate public scrutiny, legal issues, and the pressures of high-profile fatherhood, all while embroiled in one of the most heated rap feuds in recent memory. This wasn't simply a battle over reputation or music. It was a collision of decades of history, family loyalty, and public expectation. And 50 Cent, as ever, was not an opponent who played by conventional rules. Known for his ability to manipulate timing, perception, and attention, he had long mastered the art of turning conflicts into spectacles. As fans watched, a new layer of tension emerged. Rumors began to circulate that 50 Cent might escalate the feud beyond social media posts and diss tracks. Instead of responding solely with music, he could use another tool at his disposal: a documentary. Such a project could potentially revisit years of past controversies, allegations, and old legal battles, bringing them into the public conversation once more. For the Harris family, this meant a conflict that could no longer be confined to ephemeral social media moments. It could become a sustained, highly visible media war played out across streaming platforms, headlines, and public opinion. And at the center of it all remained King Harris. He was no longer just a son defending his family or a young artist trying to prove himself. He had become a focal point in a multi-generational conflict, with stakes far higher than anyone initially realized. Every action carried weight, every response was scrutinized, and every misstep could have ripple effects that went well beyond personal pride. What made this situation even more complex was the difference in how 50 Cent and T approached conflict. T tends to fight directly, using his voice, his music, and his public statements to assert his position. He often seeks resolution through direct communication, carefully weighing actions before responding. 50 Cent, on the other hand, has built a career on creating spectacle. He understands the power of the narrative and the influence of public perception. He knows how to time his interventions, manipulate media attention, and escalate situations in ways that turn ordinary disputes into viral phenomena. This clash of approaches amplifies the stakes. T is forced to protect his family while managing the unpredictability of his opponent's tactics. King Harris, meanwhile, is caught between defending loved ones and navigating his own emerging identity under a microscope that allows no room for error. Every social media post, every viral clip, and every news story contributes to a growing sense of instability and uncertainty. What makes this story particularly gripping is that it is multi-layered. It's not just about a feud between two rap legends. It's about legacy, reputation, identity, and generational tension. It's about a young man trying to assert independence in the shadow of a famous father, while simultaneously confronting public scrutiny, legal troubles, and the responsibilities of parenthood. And it's about a seasoned artist, 50 Cent, who knows precisely how to leverage attention, pressure, and timing to his advantage, transforming a personal dispute into a cultural event. Every moment of this feud underscores the fragility of public perception. Something as small as a social media post, a viral screenshot, or a live stream argument can escalate into a major story. Every response is interpreted, analyzed, and debated, leaving little room for privacy or error. King Harris's actions, whether defensive or impulsive, are magnified, creating a situation in which personal life, professional ambition, and family loyalty are inextricably intertwined. Ultimately, the situation illustrates how modern celebrity feuds operate at the intersection of family, fame, and social media. A single viral post can escalate long-standing tensions into a full-blown, multi-generational confrontation. A personal insult can trigger public outrage, media scrutiny, and legal complications simultaneously. And a young person growing up in the spotlight must navigate pressures that far exceed ordinary adolescence. King Harris is now emblematic of this dynamic. He represents the collision of personal ambition, family legacy, and public expectation, demonstrating how quickly and unpredictably conflicts can evolve when visibility is constant, history is unresolved, and stakes are high. As this feud continues to unfold, it's clear that the story is far from over. Every moment, every decision, and every post carries implications for reputation, legacy, and family relationships that could resonate for years to come. This is more than a rap feud. It is a generational confrontation, a study in the pressures of celebrity life, and a vivid example of how personal, legal, and public challenges intersect in ways that are impossible to separate. King Harris remains at the center, navigating a labyrinth of expectations, mistakes, and opportunities as the internet and the world watches every move. And with 50 Cent's potential documentary looming on the horizon, the next chapter could fundamentally redefine the narrative, transforming an already explosive situation into a saga that spans generations, mediums, and public scrutiny. 50 Cent has always understood one fundamental truth about fame and conflict. Attention is far more powerful in today's media landscape than any single insult or statement. He knows how to generate headlines, provoke reactions, and keep the internet talking long after the original spark has faded. That mastery of public perception is what made the next development in the feud so shocking. Not long after the online battle reignited, 50 Cent dropped a subtle but devastating hint. On social media, he teased the idea that the conflict could extend beyond music entirely, into a documentary-style project that would explore old controversies tied to T and his wife, Tameka "Tiny" Harris. The message was short, almost casual, but the implications were massive. Suddenly, this feud wasn't just about pride, ego, or musical supremacy anymore. The conversation shifted. Fans, critics, and casual observers alike began asking whether this fight might spill into an entirely new arena, one where storytelling, media production, and public framing could reignite old debates the Harris family assumed were long behind them. The internet erupted almost instantly. Fans speculated wildly about what such a project could contain. Comment sections filled with heated arguments. Some believed it was nothing more than a trolling tactic, a clever way to keep the feud trending. Others feared it was a calculated strategic move designed to pressure the Harris family in a completely new direction. Either way, the possibility alone sent the story into overdrive. When a decades-long rap feud intersects with a figure who understands narrative control, the stakes rise far beyond a simple exchange of insults. Conversations shift from who won the argument to what happens if someone's past is dissected in public. That question alone kept the internet buzzing. Meanwhile, T made it clear that he was unshaken by the implied threat. In interviews and through new music, he challenged 50 Cent directly, signaling that if the feud needed to move into documentaries, media narratives, or any other arena, he was prepared to face it head-on. For T, the conflict had already become personal. From his perspective, it was no longer just about pride or competition. It was about defending his family's name. In one interview, he stressed that while he had no interest in unnecessary drama, he could not remain silent while his loved ones were being dragged into public arguments. This response, however, only added fuel to the fire. The more both sides engaged publicly, the clearer it became that neither was willing to back down. What began as a rivalry between two rap icons had evolved into a multi-layered spectacle. It started with disagreements between two artists, expanded to online family defense, and now seemed to be transforming into a clash between two types of influence, music versus media. And at the center of this storm was King Harris. For King, the situation was far more complicated than a traditional rap feud. He was already navigating the consequences of his own controversies and legal issues. Now, he was thrust into a conflict involving two of the most outspoken figures in hip-hop. On one side was his loyalty to his parents and the instinct to defend them. On the other side was the reality that engaging with someone as experienced as 50 Cent could escalate the situation beyond anything he could control. The pressure was enormous, and it was on full display for the world to see. Beneath all the memes, debates, and viral headlines lies a deeper question. What happens when a young person grows up under constant observation while trying to define themselves? For King Harris, this question remains unanswered. His experiences highlight the modern challenges of growing up famous in the digital era, where mistakes are immortalized and reputations are shaped in real time by public perception. The feud itself is far from over. Rumors about a documentary persist, legal issues remain unresolved, and neither party seems ready to disengage. This uncertainty has kept fans, commentators and industry insiders glued to every development. Some believe the conflict will eventually cool down, as many rap beefs do. Others worry that the tension has escalated too far to return to normal, especially with family members involved and reputations on the line. The power of the internet, combined with the high-profile nature of the feud, ensures that every moment is amplified, analyzed, and preserved for the public record. As the story continues to unfold, King Harris remains at the center. His actions, reactions, and decisions are scrutinized by millions, each contributing to a narrative that feels both personal and generational. He embodies the intersection of family loyalty, personal responsibility, and the modern media landscape. A young man striving to carve out his own identity while navigating the shadow of his father's legacy and the relentless attention of the public. Ultimately, this story is about more than two rap legends trading insults. It is about legacy, family, and the pressures of growing up in a world where every action is magnified and analyzed. T's past mistakes and eventual redemption offer context, but King's journey is being written in real time, under conditions his father never experienced. The combination of legal challenges, public scrutiny, and a feud with a media-savvy opponent like 50 Cent creates an environment where every decision carries outsized consequences. For King Harris, the path forward is uncertain. He must balance loyalty to his family, manage his own emerging career, and navigate the intense pressures of social media scrutiny. The story is ongoing, and every moment, every viral clip, every interview, every social media post adds to the narrative. Fans, critics, and commentators will continue to watch, dissect, and debate, waiting to see whether King can redefine the trajectory of his life, or whether the pressures of fame, controversy, and family legacy will shape his story before he has a chance to tell it himself. In the end, the feud between T and 50 Cent is no longer just a clash of artists. It is a reflection of the modern challenges of fame, the enduring impact of legacy, and the power of media in shaping public perception. And at the heart of it, King Harris is the living embodiment of these forces, navigating a world in which the line between personal life and public spectacle is not only blurred but constantly shifting. As long as the story continues, one thing is certain. The spotlight on King, his family, and the entire feud is brighter than ever, and the next twist could come at any moment.